in this session, I'm going to take you through the various search modes available to you to search in Oliver. So how they work, how we can refine a search once we've got a result, and to look at how more complex search strategies can be constructed in Oliver. Now, these strategies can potentially be used in other databases by you and your students. So the search modes that we have are listed here in the search screen. So we have basic search and advanced search. Federated search, as a lot of you are probably aware, is an added feature. So I'm not necessarily looking at this today. So skipping to the authority browsing. So we're dealing with specific authority files. So firstly, we're going to look at basic search. Now, before I go into basic search, one thing I'll make you aware of, if you're not already aware of it, is that advanced search can affect how your basic search works. So you may have certain options that are set up by default, like what we have here in this search across list, or whether we're looking at available only items, or non-physical items or documents. Or if you're multi-branch, you might also have the list of branches or one branch being selected rather than the list. So just be aware of that. Most of those settings are available to you, if necessary, in your management parameters. So I'll go back to the basic search. So Oliver initially will perform a full text search. So we would be looking in for a word or a phrase wherever it appears in a record. We're not looking at a specific field to start off with. Now I'm going to follow on from the theme that I looked at in the first session, the First World War. So I'm going to type in that term. So typing in that term, the suggestions are presented here, and it's looking at the entire record. So it's not picking subject, title, or author or series. It's the entire record. Now the list is presented here in order of term length. So the longest at the bottom of the list. Now you can click on a suggestion that's presented to you and the search will start automatically. Or you can just type in the words you want to search for and ignore that and run search. So it's up to you whether you want to do that. Now we have about 6 or 7 suggestions being displayed here. Now the maximum number of suggestions is set to 12. Now this number can be expanded on by using parameter number 4603. So that's suggestion. That is suggestion list limit. Okay. So you can change that to expand this list further if you wish. Now I'm going to choose my option and we have our full list displayed. Now again, you can see that we have various words being highlighted here. Now it isn't necessarily going to correspond with what you've actually typed in here. So it could be, you can see war is highlighted, but we may see the full term being highlighted further in the record. So it could be visible in the hover view or the list view, or if I go into the full record, we can see the full term there. So it's highlighting words from the term. That's the way the highlight works. So you can't actually change the highlighting, but you can turn it off. So I'll just close that off. Now, if you want to search for a specific term or a specific field, not all the words, if I just get rid of that, we can choose from these radio buttons underneath. Now, this is quite new. So some of you who might be in a slightly earlier version than I am on, you might not see this, but it is fairly recent. So if I choose subject, I will be doing the search just in subject. Now you can see, if I just take that back a bit, I'm having trouble with my typing this afternoon, you can see that as I type, we are getting fewer suggestions. Of course, it is looking in the subject area, so we shouldn't expect to get as many results here, but it works in the same way. We can just run the search, or we can click on the item there. Yeah. So now we have fewer results here. Now if I look at this detailed record, you'll see we've got the standard information, bibliographic details, and our holdings. Now we also have links for subjects, for series, for authors, if there is more than one resource attached to these terms. So you can click on a term and that will take you into a larger result perhaps. So people can look for, let's say, similar subjects or other items within that particular resource that we found that may be of interest. Now I can go back to my original or that previous search result by clicking Show Last Result here. So I'm going to go out of there. I'm back into my 3 result list. Going back into the full record, we have some other links here. I have added into my subject authority files C references, or C also references, related terms, narrower terms, broader terms, so I can sort of guide my users to other subjects that may be useful to them. So I have said First World War, see also World War I, World War 1914, 1918. So I can give them other suggestions. Now, this type of information needs to be entered directly into the authority file. So this, I'm not going to pretend that this isn't going to involve some work on your part to make those cross-references. But once they're in there, you can make them visible in a search record by using the parameter 4211, and that is display subject relators. So once that parameter is turned on and you have related terms, see also references in your subjects, you will be able to click on those. So I've been given here a much more comprehensive list of possibly relevant items. So again, I'm going to go back to my last result by clicking on the last result button there. Now one thing you need to note is that when I chose that link, it has taken me into the subjects area here. So you need to be careful with this because you might click in here and start typing something else and you're still in subjects. So just be aware of that. Right, so I'm just going to clear that out and I'm going to move now to advanced search. Now the advanced search allows you to be more precise in regard to the resources that you get. So you can make pre-search restrictions. Now if I type in World War I here, again you can see that the predictive search operates here still. However, when I click on an option there, it doesn't go straight into the search. Now this will allow you to select options, further options underneath here. So we can choose options like available only. We could select from particular publication dates. We could select particular bib type, the branch, the collection. So you can make restrictions and then run your search. Okay. So I have quite a few items there as a result from my search. So another thing that I want to point out, in your search result list, you have sort options here. So there are various sort options. Relevance is the one that comes up by default if you haven't changed it to something else. Now again, in your parameters, you might decide that you want it to show items in publication year order, and latest first would be year descending. And that's what I've got mine set on. But I can choose relevance, so it tries to give you the closest match to what you've actually typed in. Popularity, so that's looking at way items have been taken out, their loan history. Title, so you have reverse title order. Classification order. We've also got GMD order here, so I might group my websites or my books together. And the other one we have here is author. Now, author does not appear here by default. Again, there is a parameter that you can set that allows author to be displayed here. So we can change the order in which these items are displayed. So it's just a matter of choosing the entry here, and then it automatically goes to that next sort order. And that will tend to stay as the sort order for any more searches that you do until you close your Oliver system down. So if you want to change it again, you'll probably need to go back and choose a different option there. If I go back to the advanced search area, so how do I open it up again? Sometimes people get a little bit confused with that. Basically, it's just a matter of just clicking in the field and it will come back up again. And you have buttons here that you can clear your previous search. So I'm just going to clear everything now. So all the selections I've had are now gone. Now, and I was doing a full text search in this search field at the top. Now, I can search a particular field, subject for instance. So here I can use this again if I want to be a bit more precise about the types of subjects that I use in my search. So if I type in First World War again, and then I search subjects, what we're doing here is we are searching the subject's authority file directly. So it's giving me some suggestions close to the terms that I've typed in here. So again, it's a little bit small, but it says here First World War, RT, World War I, RT, World War 1914-1918. So I have put in these entries, and when you put them in one, it will correspond to the other, so you don't have to edit all the entries. It will know to reverse that. Now I can see I have related terms. Now you can type in the search there and search again, so I can get other items coming up here. If I just take World War, for instance, I will get more items coming up. So you can look at the authorities directly. So now I can select several headings for my search. So you just click on the arrows. So I'm going to choose these 3 entries. Now as I choose these, they go into selected terms. Now they are being joined by the Boolean operator OR. So you can see we have and OR buttons here. So we can change it. So the default is OR. We could change it to and as we choose terms here. Now, this screen, you could introduce Boolean type searches to your students. So we'd say that we want to find records that may have First World War in them, or World War I, or World War 1914 to 1918, or the record may have all of these headings in that, but we want to find items with at least one of these subjects in it. So that's how we connect them with OR. So once I have all the subjects that I want to search on here, now I can do more than one search and bring more items into this, but I'm going to complete this. So I'm going to finish. And then it's put it into the field here. So we can see the first heading or the second heading or the third heading. And then you would also be able to make further restrictions in here if you wish. But I'm just going to accept that and run my search. So we have 99 items here. And that's a pretty big result. So again, we can use the advanced search to refine this down. So if I go back to the search screen, there's advanced. I'm going to clear what I have in here. So use the button there. And now we have an option, and you may have already seen it come up, search within the current search results only. So I've got 99 items. I want to be able to reduce this a bit. So what I'm going to use now, searching within that 99 items, I'm going to put in a publication date range. So I'm going to restrict it to 2005 to 2015. And then I run the search. And now we've got 19 items, so far fewer items than I needed to look at before. Okay. Now, you could have performed this type of search within a search if you had done a search from basic search. It doesn't matter where you start from in the search, but if you want to use advanced search to search within those current results, just choose it and that will come up there. So just tick that and then choose from the options that you can see on the screen. I'm going to go back to my last result, my bigger result, because there is another way that you can reduce a search result, and that is using modify results. So you have a button here. When you hover over that on the left, you will see that there is another option that's come over on the right. Now that's disappeared. I have an arrow here on the right that I can hover over, or I can click on that, and I would suggest that you do click on that to bring it up permanently, and you can get rid of it later. But this is modify results. It's also known in some of the documentation as faceted searching. So if you get a huge result and you need to take it down a bit, well then this is the way that I would do that sometimes. Personally, I do prefer the advanced search option. I do like that a bit better. So I've got 317 items here, so that's a very large list to go through. So if I use the modify options, you have two options here to refine and to expand. Refine, that will allow you to pare this down to something a bit more relevant. So the options that we have displayed here, and there are more necessarily than you would see in the advanced search. So we have available. So I could say I only want available only items. I could choose a particular branch if I wanted to, or collection. Publication dates, instead of a range you could choose publication dates. Now you can tick on several options and then run the search again, or you can just click on a link directly. So what I'm going to do here is I say I want available only items, and I'm going to use GMD. I want DVD and video cassettes. I'm after audio-visual type items. So I can tick those and I can run that. Okay, so now we have a much shorter result here, so much more manageable there. Now you can do a search. Actually, let me just go back to my basic search. I'm going to do subject. So when I did First World War before, I had 3 items come up there, so I think, oh, I must have more there must be more in the library for that. So we can, instead of refine, we can expand that out. So you might expand out via subjects. I find this the most useful. So it's looking at subjects that are contained within those resources that we have in the result. So now I can say, yes, I want World War I, I want First World War as well. So I can tick that and then run the search again. So now I've got a larger, more useful, again, list of items rather than just 3. The last type of search that you've got listed here are authority browsing. Now, like subjects before, in the advanced search, you've got the ability to see the subjects directly into the authority file. Now I can type in my subject that I want, so I'm going to do World War I. Again, you've got a predictive list, so you can choose from that or you can ignore it and it will go straight into a search. But what it does by default is that it takes you to the subject that you've selected, but it will browse or allow you to browse subjects that start with the same letter. So we're in the W's at the moment, so we've got about 65 subjects in W's. Now I can reverse that and just see something related to what I've typed in by using this browse button here at the top. So you can toggle between the two. So I can select from this list. Again, you can see the references that I put into my subjects. So broader terms, see also. I would have narrower terms as well being displayed here. So I can choose several if I want to, and then I can view those items, or I could just click directly on a link and then it would take me to a results list. So I'm just going to click view, and now it's taken me into that result list. So again, to get that type of display that we saw, I've needed to edit my authority files. So that would also apply to things like authors, possibly series as well, but more so for subjects. And the other authorities that you can browse here include your authors, your lists, serials. If you've got the serials module, you can browse your serial titles. That's what that is for, but that would only apply if you have the serials module. So the advantage of using the subjects browse, it allows you to look at the authority directly and then choose something that suits your needs. So you've defined your topic, you've got the keywords that you're interested in to to go along with your topic, your assignment, and then we can see, oh yes, this looks appropriate, choose those, and then do the search. Okay. Now, I want to draw your attention to this search box at the top. We have First World War or World War I fiction. It's performed a more complex search, and it's used the Boolean operators to combine these two topics, or these two subjects. Now, you are able to enter in this type of search yourself. So we have available to us various operators, like Boolean operators, and, or, and not. We can use quotes around our terms to define phrases. We can also truncate terms, so we can put a star at the end if we're not sure about the spelling, or we want to include variations on that. And we can also use brackets around terms to group them together and to set sort of a hierarchy for how these are searched. So we're getting into probably the more complex searches that you might do when you get to university. So it's a good way of introducing your students to this, and it can also help them search things like Google Scholar and that, other databases. Now, I'm going to go back to the advanced search. I'm going to clear everything off here. So I'm just clearing everything from here. And I'm going to type in some examples here, and I'm going to put up a fact sheet about these so you can see what I've done. Okay, so easy thing we can do is we can combine terms using our Boolean operators. So we've already seen I've got something like First World War. Now I'm just ignoring what's going on in the predictive search. So First World War, or need to note that Boolean operators must be in uppercase. It won't work if you use them in lowercase. So if I do World War I and put those in quotes as well, so I'm combining those two terms, I can then run my search. So I have items with First World War or World War I in them, those phrases. So it's looking everywhere in the record. But now I could introduce searching in a particular field. Now, to get the information on the particular field labels, what I suggest you do is you go into cataloging, resources, do a search, and then go into the sort options, because it's those labels that you see in the sort options that are used for searching on. And you can do this type of search in the cataloging search. It doesn't just apply here. So I can, and I'm just going to edit these. So I could say subject equals, so that's another operator we can use, so something equals something else. So subject equals First World War, or subject equals World War I. And that's what I've got there. So I'm looking now in a specific subject. So if I run that, it is highlighted in the title, but it's in the subjects there. So another variation on this, if I clear this out. Classification. So classification, searching. Classification is the field name. So I do equals, and then I put it in quotes again. So I'm going to say 940.3, or, and I have several classifications that relate to World War I. 940.4. put the quote on there. So classification equals there. And then run the search. So I am getting items quite precisely 940.3, 940.4. I can sort those there. Now, I may have classifications that start with that. So I can use, for truncation, I can put the star, so that's uppercase 8, on the end of that. So 940.3 star in quotes. And then if I go to this, I can put in 940.4 star again in quotes. So classification equals this. And then run my search again. So you can see I'm getting a much larger result because it's included items that, if I go to the end, so it's expanded that out. So the star at the end of the field, so if you're not quite sure what the word is, how it's spelt, or how it ends, you can use the truncation for that. So I can go on with quite a few examples here. So just a couple of more complex examples. One of the things I might be asked for is about poems on World War I. So here I can use brackets to put around my subjects or my terms and connect that with poems. So I'm going to do open bracket, so it's First World War or World War I, whoops, or, and again in quotes, World War I, close the brackets. Then I want and poems. So I want these different terms and poems. So I put in Boolean and, put in poems, and then search for that. So we're grouping all of these. So we want this or this or this and this. And then click go. Now, okay, so I've done poetry this time. I've got a few more items there. And finally, one other thing, if I'm looking for poetry or poems, I could say and put that in brackets, so or poems. And then run the search again. So I want either this or this or this and either this or this. And then I'll get that result. Now, so that type of search, again, I could copy this and I could go to Google. So, you know, children, school kids, they do like using Google. So I'm going to go to Google Scholar and I'm actually going to paste in my search and run that. So I have been able to perform the same type of search in Google as I have done in Oliver. But the advantage here, of course, is that I am being much more precise and I'm excluding a lot of, well, rubbish basically, that I may get from Google. Obviously, Scholar is a bit better, but when you're just using Google by itself, you do get a lot of stuff that you do tend to have to trawl through to get to exactly what you're looking for. So you can introduce those concepts of complex searching, Boolean, phrases with the quotes, that type of operation via Oliver. I think it's a good way of introducing those concepts, especially when they're probably going to need them when they hopefully go on to university or some other higher education.